This is the Mazz and Bads Show with Brandon Marrazzo and Charlie Baduini.
Welcome back to another edition of your favorite sports show, Mazz and Bads, of course, joined by producer Anthony Cafone and a very special guest in the building. Put your hands together for my man Ryan Snaps White, please.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Ryan White is probably the biggest, hustler dog out there. Just kids that we went to college with. All right, this kid was getting media credentials to go to UFC events as an actual journalist. Credentialed media member is absolutely insane when the rest of us are sitting there just trying to figure out calling games and, where we're getting dinner that night. The resume is as long as the eye can see. Head of the school newspaper for the sports section. A bunch of schmucks underneath them. Intern with us, right? I mean, this guy, everywhere you turn, whether it was radio, whether it was newspaper, digital print media, the guy just covers it all. And just completed an internship with the UFC. I mean, my man's doing big things out here. Can I get a round of applause for that? Thank you.
And thank you so much, Mazz, for that intro. I've been a big and proud fan of this podcast. You guys are killing it, so I really appreciate that intro for me. And, we all kind of doing similar things, but a little bit differently, doing in our own path. But, yeah, man, it's been a really fun ride, and I'm glad to be here.
I gotta ask you, what is it finally like now after, years of having to be in charge of a bunch of group of people, and obviously you're editing, so there's mistakes and all that stuff that you have to conquer. What's it like to just finally focus on Ryan White for the first time in 3 years?
Yeah, no, it's been really nice to kind of have nothing to do for at least the last month right now. The internship that I finished with the UFC was out in Las Vegas, finished in mid-December. So I had a few weeks before Christmas to hang, and then went and graduated last month. But yeah, now I've just been focused on myself. I'm kind of just searching the web for my next path, my next position. But yeah, it's been good. I love it. I love life.
Hey, buddy, we'll begin to the UFC in just a little bit. We know you're going to be doing big things, so shout you out. But you just mentioned Christmas, and Christmas came a little late for me this year. However, I get home from watching the Royal Rumble, I hop on PlayStation, and in the middle of a ballistics match on Fortnite with some buddies, the trade of the century breaks out of nowhere. I swear to God, I thought Shams had gotten hacked. I thought that it was just some kind of early April Fools. I was declaring shenanigans. There's no way this is right. However, my Los Angeles Lakers have dealt Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic, essentially. Of course, a couple of other pieces in there. Do they really matter that much? Not really. But nonetheless, a 25-year-old in his prime. The one thing that I've been asking for, Charlito, I got the best version of it. I got my ball handler. I got scoring. I got a dog, and especially 3-point shooting. And not only did I get all of it, I got probably the best case scenario in it. This is a wild dream. I still have not woken up from it. I'm a little upset to see AD go, but we'll get to that in a second. What was your guys' initial reaction? Because I'm still in La La Land, no pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's reaction was the same as yours, Maz. Everyone thought it was fake. Everyone thought Shams got hacked, but it happened. It went down. And, Pelinka and Harrison had been working on it for the last month. Apparently they had a cup of coffee together in Dallas when the Lakers were last out there, and it led all this way to here. Now, the weird part of it is, and the hard part that a lot of NBA fans have a hard time grasping, is the trade return, and of course how it happened and how no other team got involved. There was no bidding war. So in the few days that have passed since the trade's gone down, more information has come out. There's been excuses from Nico Harrison, maybe from Luka's camp, but what happened was the Mavericks were just done with Luka, done with him not taking care of himself, not being in proper conditioning when he comes back from injuries in the offseason. And they feel that Anthony Davis is a win now piece that they can pair up with Kyrie, with Caleb Martin, who they just traded for yesterday, with Gafford and Lively. And they think they got a shot to win the championship. Do they? Maybe. But to me, you got a better shot with Luka Doncic on your team. So, I don't know. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to for me.
Again,
go ahead.
How? What's this narrative that Luka is not in shape? This guy plays 100 games a season at 38 minutes a game. Like, he's always in shape, and he's putting up 40-point triple doubles. Sure, he looks like he's laboring a little bit, but like, if he's getting the job done, what's the harm? Like, I don't get this whole he's out of shape thing, because he's one of the best players in the game right now, and to really throw him away for, I guess, I know Anthony Davis is a very good player, so I'm not going to undersell Anthony Davis. I think for the Mavericks, this is a short-term deal that you got 2 to 3 years to really get a championship window, and if not, it's going to go down as the worst trade potentially in the history of basketball. Herschel Walker-esque, if we're talking about like how bad it is in the grand scheme of things. But again, Luka Doncic, a great player, and now the Lakers pairing him up with 40-year-old LeBron James, 2 generational talents together for a couple of seasons. It should be fun.
Yeah, boys, I really agree with all that. I just find it really insane that draft this player, Luka Doncic, who with between him and Victor Wembanyama are easily the 2 most generational players since LeBron, honestly. Right? You finally get to the finals last year after Luka has had so much playoff success over his career already. You finally get to the playoff or the finals. Then you go out and you add Klay Thompson to try and continue adding to this team. Like, I just don't understand how you're going to pull the plug for Anthony Davis, who is great, but let's be real, he's an aging superstar. His best days are behind him. It's just, I don't know. I guess you have a 2 to 3 window of being a really good team, but you had that already. It just doesn't make sense.
For me, like the one thing that I do hate that like I'm seeing is that I don't necessarily know if it's a fleece job for the Lakers for the sole fact of I've never seen somebody look so upset in a press conference when getting traded. Like Luca looks like he does not want to be here. The contract I believe is up in like 2 years. If they don't re-sign him, the Lakers absolutely lose this trade if they don't get a championship within that window, which is going to be a little hard. I firmly believe that this was a move by one Rob Pelinka securing his job because firmly believe he should have been on the hot seat. Probably was on the hot seat and said, I need to make an absolute blockbuster to give some faith back to the fans and back to the organization, right? So my whole thing with this is that if they re-sign Luka and if they can get a chip and get another star in there, I don't think we're winning this year, but I do see next year as the window. But even so, if they re him up, it's like, okay, we've secured the future and I'm happy for it. I'm sad to see AD go. I absolutely hate that we're talking as if AD is not a great player. Like it's not the worst trade I think in the world. It's just that the age difference between them. But Anthony Davis is the better defender. Anthony Davis is a champion, something that Luka Doncic is not. And I would argue that Anthony Davis was the one when we won in the bubble. So he can rise to those occasions. Now, does he have the same potential as Luka Doncic? No, we've seen the ceiling of Anthony Davis. However, I'm also a little upset because for somebody who has always had this injury bug with him of somebody that's always injured, you look at last season, you look at this season, he really has not missed games. So I hate to see that walk out the door. I really wish they would have traded LeBron just because of the age factor, right? Not because of Anthony Davis is better than LeBron James all time. It's just he's 40 years old, and Anthony Davis, I think, would have been a much better complementary piece. However, I do think that now the Lakers are stepping into the next generation, no matter what, if they can secure Luka. The Mavs are in a win now situation. I really think they're one piece away from we're talking competing with the Celtics and potentially winning the whole thing. I mean, Kyrie and Anthony Davis, that is just like I mean, it's like chocolate chip going with cookie batter. It just makes sense. Like it's a match made in heaven. It's going to absolutely work. No matter how you want to look at it. I think the Mavs also their GM hit the panic button, my friends. They were just in the finals, but they were just an 8th seed. Defense has been the biggest problem for them. I know that they just mortgaged Luka for it, but you just brought in arguably the best defender in the league by my accounts.
You know what's crazy
Yeah,
to me? I'm sorry, real quick, Charlie.
No, go ahead.
The Jazz, who's the third team in that trade, Danny Ainge, had no idea that they were helping the Lakers get Luka. How does that happen? How does one team in the trade just not know what's going on and they're just giving away assets?
Hey, they kept it quiet. They didn't want them to know because if they knew, then maybe they wouldn't have allowed it to happen.
It's crazy, dude. Like the secrecy that was involved, like the whole Mavs front office, like outside of Nico, really, like Jason Kidd had no idea. And the fact in the press conference, Nico is saying, "Oh yeah, I just know what Jason Kidd wants. I don't have to talk to him."
Did you see that face? He's sitting there like, what are you talking about? You think I ever wanted to let go of that kid? Are you kidding me? I'll tell you right now why other teams weren't involved in this trade. It's because Nico 100% had his eyes set on a guy that he used to be an agent for, and Anthony Davis. He said, "That's all I want. I want to relink up with my guy. I want nothing else," which I think is ludicrous. If you're gonna let go of Luka, you got to hear the offers. You could have got a better offer. Let's not act like this was the greatest trade in the world. I do think it's a lot more even than people say it is, especially if the Lakers don't re it up. But dude, how do you get tunnel vision like that from one player? I feel like you got to listen to everything, man. This whole thing is wild.
I also think both the Lakers and the Mavericks had both had reason to keep it quiet. On the Mavericks side of things, you didn't want a disgruntled Luka Doncic. You have no idea what he could have done. He could have gone straight to the media and burned it to the ground and caused a scene. And then you have the rest of the NBA stepping in. And for the Lakers side of things, like, you want to keep that quiet because you don't want anyone else driving up the price. I mean, you got him at such a great, I wouldn't say, I mean, discount, quote unquote, just because I think we're all a little shocked how small the trade package was. But on Sunday night, and we were talking about this. And so let me pose this hypothetical to you guys. If you were the Mavs GM prior to Saturday night, how many players in the NBA would you trade Luka Doncic for?
3. I'd say
Maybe.
I'd say Wemby. I'd say Jokic.
Yep.
And then
Okay.
I'd probably say
SGA?
SGA. Yeah, those 3. That's probably it.
Maybe. I know people are gonna hate this, but you got to give the respect, dude. Like, maybe Jason Tatum. That's like the only ones
I wouldn't even do that.
that are really out there. I know people don't like Jason Tatum, but like, Jason Tatum's just on a team where the touches aren't necessarily always there. Like, he's still putting up big stats with that big team. We got to stop acting like Jason Tatum isn't a generational talent into this next generation with Luka, with Wemby, and so on. Like, I mean, come on.
He's in that same class for sure, but I think Luka has proven to be a step above individually, bro.
Yeah.
This man is on pace for, like, through his 7-year career. This man is on pace for, like, whatever you want to say, 40,000 points, breaking every assist. Like, he's on like LeBron numbers since he's been 19 years old, bro. This man's averaging. It's just a little different in my opinion.
He's been playing pro basketball since
like
he was 15.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would trade him for Jokic, fellas.
I agree. To answer your question, Charlie, I don't know if there's a single player I personally would trade Luka Doncic for straight up. I genuinely think with his age, maybe just Wemby and SGA are the only 2 I'd consider. That's it. There's nothing else I'd want.
I don't know, man. I like Jokic.
Especially with him being 25 years old, which is just the craziest part. I mean,
you guys are gonna hate this. I'm a Ja Morant kind of guy.
No.
Like, I love Ja. So like, I know. I like him. I don't care. That's like,
This
you would
guy's
trade
far away
Luka
from an
Doncic
NBA
for
team.
Ja Morant?
I
Keep this guy away from
I
an
could be
NBA
convinced
team.
to it. I could be convinced. I love. You know what it is, dude? I thoroughly do not enjoy watching anybody play the game more than I watch Ja Morant. That's just it. I'm a fan. Like, I'm not saying he's better. I'm saying I'm a fan. That's it.
But you
like,
trade for him.
and I think
Fair, but
I don't know, dude. I'm saying I think I could be convinced in the wrong scenario if it was just like, you caught me on the wrong night of little extracurricular activities. I might mess up and hit that trade button. But other than that, yeah, no, dude, this kid should basically be untouchable unless you're hitting a Godfather package. I need picks on picks on picks with talent, and the fact that we did give up so little, even though Anthony Davis is a great player and needs to stop being slept on because Dallas is absolutely still going to compete right this second. But the one thing that's got me confused right now is Dallas. I can't believe anything that comes out of there, right? Luka's out of shape, and I know where that comes from. Let's be honest. He looks like James Harden the last year in Houston every time he comes in at the beginning of the season. The kid uses the season to get into shape. But he's that good, he can do that, right? So I get that. We've been hearing that they've been upset with the conditioning and, the lack of defense and all this, but they're still we're in the finals just last year, so this is ludicrous to me. Second off, Luka's unhappy, quote unquote, being in Dallas. I've been hearing that for the last year and a half. He just bought a $15 million house, for crying out loud, down in Dallas. The kid literally put in his statement, I thought I'd be here for my entire career. It feels like home. So clearly that wasn't true. Mark Cuban sells his majority stake in the damn team, only keeping 10% ownership. But in that deal, it was stated that Mark is still having, quote unquote, full control of all basketball moves. Well, apparently that was only for last season, because apparently he has nothing to do with this damn trade. We literally heard him say, I'd rather get divorced than trade Luka Doncic in the years prior, right? So everything that comes out of Dallas is absolutely fugazi. I don't believe any of it.
What do you guys think about the Mark Williams trade, though, and Luka being a big advocate for getting a big man who can be a rim runner, a lob threat, which is great for his play style?
I think it's a great trade as long as he can stay healthy. I mean, he's definitely shown that he has the ability to be he's got defensive chops. He's got, like you said, got the rim running props. It's just the only thing you worry about is the health, because I think he's missed almost half the games in his career, if I'm not mistaken. Really rough. But yeah, trading Dalton Connect and a first round pick, it's a lot. So he better pan out, or Pelinka's going to be kicking himself for that one, for sure.
I think look what Luka did with Daniel Gafford these last couple of seasons. Daniel Gafford had the highest field goal percentage in the NBA for last season. So that's a guy who was never really a superstar when he was with Washington. He comes over to Dallas and he's having career years. Like you said, Ryan, I think having a big man alongside Luka, like a Derek Lively, a Daniel Gafford, these guys have their best seasons when Luka's with them, because he opens up so many other things with his long-range ability, and his passing is frankly some of the best in the NBA. So yeah, I think Mark Williams is a good trade. I think they gave up way too much for him, though. I think Dalton Connect is a very good piece that you could have moved for something else, a couple of picks. They gave up more picks for Mark Williams than the Mavericks gave up for Luka, if you can believe that.
True, yeah. It is a little bit of a weird deal because everyone kind of likes Connect. He's been looking very promising, but Mark Williams is younger by a couple months than Dalton Connect, so it's not like they got older or anything. Mark Williams is on the same timeline with Luka and same as Connect, so it's not like they got older, at least.
I'm concerned because Connect, obviously a 3 and D threat for the team. Obviously not clamps on the defensive side, but that was his role, and I am a little concerned about defense. And you know what? If they would have got another center in there to take the pressure off of AD, we probably would have been higher. We probably would have saw another championship with him and LeBron James. That's when he was at his best. When you allow him to play the 4, somebody else takes the physicality away from him. I am so sick of people saying AD needs to play the 5. AD needs to play the 5. Why? They literally won a championship with Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee holding down the center for them. It literally takes defensive pressure off of Anthony Davis, allows him to focus more on scoring, which he can be the number 1 scoring threat. He was in that finals until LeBron decided, I'm not passing to you no more, buddy. I'm taking this finals MVP because I'm sick of the damn criticism, So it's just, I like that they went and got the center piece, especially defensive minded. I like that he's young, but however, like Charlie said, is he going to be available? How is he going to pan out? And why didn't we go and do something with this for Anthony Davis? But apparently they weren't ever going to extend Anthony Davis because of the age, which I just don't understand, man. If a guy is looking good, extend him. I can care what his age is. We've already proven that modern science and medical advancements, especially in the athletic training world, guys are extending their careers longer than ever. Look at Cristiano Ronaldo, look at LeBron James, and I guarantee you there's going to be more to come. Look at Tom Brady. Not everybody's Tom Brady, but it's just might not be playing to the level of the guys that I just named.
But you forget.
However, they can still keep their level, maybe.
Those 3 guys don't have the injury history that Anthony Davis has had. So that's the main difference. But I said this on Sunday dinner when I was speaking with Charlie. When Anthony Davis is healthy, he's a top 10 player in the NBA. It's not even close. He's a 30-point triple-double guy when he's healthy. And when he was playing alongside LeBron, you saw that in the times when he was fully healthy, he was able to be a dominant force. They won a championship, for crying out loud. And I think Kyrie Irving, look at his best seasons, right, in the NBA. When he has a guy who could be a bona fide superstar that's healthy next to him, that's when he shines. Kyrie's a great number 2 option, in my opinion. When he's with Luka, fantastic. He was having some great years. KD, he was having some great years. You go back to Boston when he was, alongside Tatum and upcoming Jaylen Brown. great years. LeBron down with Cleveland. When Kyrie Irving has a bona fide superstar next to him, he's the best Robin in the NBA, and I am going to stand by that. Like, he's the best Robin in the NBA. It's not even close.
But I mean, I think sorry about Rosie barking up a storm. There's probably a truck outside.
The plow's
Give me one
going
second.
through.
I'm gonna.
All good, buddy. But as you were saying, right, with Kyrie Irving, I mean, like, this is a guy who had to take a backseat to his ball handling, playmaking, and scoring because he was playing alongside Luka. The pairing was nice, but the best part about that pairing wasn't even when it was on the court together. It was, hey, you need to tag out and get a breather. I can take over real quick, you know? So now you're getting back to similar roles that you're used to playing where, hey, Kyrie is now kind of off the he's off the leash a little bit here, where it's you are the primary guy now on the perimeter, and you do have somebody that you can pair up and get things going. Whether it's, you know, we might see another Lob City action going on. Kyrie, of course, he just, nobody moves better with the ball. Now you put that into a pick and roll with Anthony Davis. I mean, forget about it. And let's not forget Anthony Davis, the only guy that I've seen single-handedly on the defensive side give Jokic trouble. You know, this is the rate, like a guy with multiple MVPs seems unstoppable every time. He's the only guy that has given him trouble. Not that he's locked him down or clamped him up. I'm just saying.
Hey,
when
hey,
used to play,
put some respect on Rudy Gobert's name, okay?
Oh, okay. You got me there. My bad. But Anthony, was Rudy scoring on him? No. Anthony Davis doing it both ways. You know what I'm saying? Truly competing with them. It's just, we forget how good Anthony Davis is. Maybe it's the injuries. Maybe it's because there's younger guys and because he's not winning MVPs. Because let's be honest, you're not winning MVPs when you're playing against a piece like LeBron James. Somebody else is getting votes. Maybe it's the seeding. I don't know. We need to remember Anthony Davis is a great damn basketball player.
So, end of the game, you know, crunch time, one possession game. Who's got the ball in their hands? AD or Kyrie?
Kyrie. Easy.
Kyrie.
Yeah.
I would say Kyrie. But but let's not forget, on that run to the finals, one shot left on the clock. Who do they want the ball in the hands? LeBron or AD? It was Anthony Davis. You know, he's capable of it. That's Charlie. Don't even look at me. He literally said that he literally hit a game winner against Denver to advance them to the next round. Stop it.
He hit a game winner for sure, but I'm willing to bet that LeBron took more game-winning attempts throughout that playoff run.
He did not. I watched all of it. He did not, because
So did I,
LeBron.
brother.
I'm telling you right now, LeBron literally said, "I want you to be the number one. I'm here to direct traffic." Like, he said, we're living and dying with AD shot. He's old.
sure.
Stop acting like he's 25.
For sure. I'm not saying LeBron took more shots in the games. I'm saying fourth quarter, minute left situations.
It looked like AD had the ball a lot more times because that was the mismatch. When you're
I agree.
6'11" and can shoot like him, like, good God,
Green
bro.
won in the finals. It wasn't always AD though. Danny Green missed one. They were, you know.
It should have been AD the entire time. He's the most clutch player on that team at that time.
I disagree with that as well. Fudge.
It's all right. I mean, listen, LeBron's passing to him. Obviously, LeBron's comfortable with the shot, right? Just
Sure.
saying. This is what probably the smartest guy ever to play the game of basketball besides Magic Johnson, right? So it's like, if that's what and Chris Paul, if he's passing him the ball with the last shot, I'm gonna go ahead and say that's the shot that they want.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And now they got Luka, who's very similar to LeBron.
Are
They
you
got
gonna sit here and tell me Bron's taking the shots over Luka too? Stop it! Luka's
no.
absolutely taking those shots.
It'll probably be Luka.
It should be Luka. LeBron, it is time to finally coast, my friend. It's time to coast.
Oh, dude, that's the thing. Finally, for the first time in his career, he's gonna actually be able to coast. Because, Mazz, you can say all you want, like how he was trying to hand the keys off to AD, and AD wasn't always taking them. He was sometimes he would.
I think the team was built for AD to take the keys. You know, I mean, you see plenty of times AD's on the floor. They're just worried about AD. They know LeBron's gonna get his. It's a threat, but how many times has LeBron dropped 30 and the Lakers have lost? You know, so they were just locking down multiple guys on AD. And it's like, go ahead, pass it to the other guys. I'm sorry, this isn't a good roster still. All right, everybody's in love with Austin Reeves. That's empty stats. It's not it. Don't Connect was the other guy that I actually freaking like, and now he's gone. Who else on this team do you want taking shots? Don't hit me with Dorian Finney-Smith. I know everybody likes his defense. Do not tell me you want him taking shots. So it's like, this is not necessarily a roster that you're trusting to kick out to and be like, hey, buddy, please score this bucket. Like, there's still pieces that need to be fixed. It's just the question is, can Luka and LeBron's talents rise above what they need?
We saw last year with Dallas, it was Luka and Kyrie and Daniel Gafford. That was the entire team right there. Like they were able to get to the finals. I mean, they took down a team in Minnesota who we thought was unbeatable after they took down Denver. Okay, like I think adding Luka to the fold is such a game changer because he can pretty much, with LeBron at his side, that's it. Like that's really all you need. And I'm not a proponent usually in the NBA of like having only just 2 superstars and no depth because I feel like that usually never pays off. But with these 2 guys, I just feel like it's a different story because they've both done that. They've both only been the one option that's carried their team to finals. Now with the 2 of them, I know LeBron's 40 and we're going to talk about that and his age and how that plays a factor. But the 2 of them together, you don't need as crazy a depth as you really need because both of them are going to put up 35-point games in the playoffs just because off the resumes.
The Mavericks weren't incredibly talented last year. You know what I mean? Like they had a good starting 5, but like off the bench, I mean,
Spencer Dinwiddie, right? That was it. That was the
His
only guy
starting 5 is better than our starting 5. And hold on, their starting 5 is better than our current starting 5. Their bench, just having Spencer Dinwiddie, is better than our bench. It's not good. We're not in good shape here. Rob Pelinka still needs to make more moves if he wants to create a Lakers dynasty again. All right. And I will say though, I'm having like visions of Sugar Plums of just like this is like old Magic with prime Bird. This is going to be so much fun to watch for the 2 years that we have it. Like I'm here for it. I cannot wait for that first game with Luka. I do think I'm working that night. Hopefully I'll be able to catch it. If not, I will be very upset.
Yeah, I believe that's Saturday at 4:00. Lakers Pacers in LA. Luka's debut in the purple and gold. But
when is AD's?
I think that's enough.
When's AD's?
I don't think he's coming back until after the All-Star break. Because the Lakers had shut him down until then, so I don't know. The Mavericks will probably do the same thing.
He already took a pay cut. I know he deferred like $6 million to help them try to make some moves, but
he waived his trade kicker, which is just it's like if you get traded, here's some extra money. But
yeah.
he waived it. So
last thing on it, I must say this: AD looks better in that Mavs jersey than Luka looks in that Lakers jersey. That 77 is just a weird number in basketball, man. But I gotta tell you, like AD kind of looks at home in the Mavs. Luka, I really hope that there's a pitch for it because the sour puss at the press conference, the not knowing that he's getting traded, I just really hope, and I'm so petrified when he sees his first paycheck and the taxes from California come out of his check as opposed to being in Texas. There needs to be a party every night for this guy to make sure that he stays because I'm afraid, my friends.
I just want to say this. I saw a post a couple of days ago where it said the Luka Laker jersey is going to be selling out to every frat boy in the entire country. It's going to be at every frat house in America.
Yeah, I think that was a football player who tweeted that. I think
It was Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
And the absolute last thing that we'll say on this trade before we move on and get to our next one, please, for the love of God, keep a Kardashian sister away from Luka and let him continue to thrive.
I'm pretty sure he's married.
That ain't never stopped nothing before, man. Respectfully. That ain't a knock on Luka's marriage. That's just human nature, bro. And especially when you're looking at women that beautiful, anything can happen in La La Land, okay? But please keep him with his wife and keep him out of that kind of limelight because, dude, they've ruined careers. Everybody that's been with them, it's just, just go through it. Chris Humphries, Blake Griffin, Devin Booker, Ben Simmons, it has all just tanked, and I cannot afford that to happen right now. But finally, we've had some other couple trades going. I want to jump to the one that is highest on my list after Luka. My man is finally set free. For the love of God, thank you, Miami, for finally setting Jimmy Butler free, who is now heading over to the Bay. Charlie, I believe you have the details on that trade, but I believe this was the first scenario we ever talked about, so I'm so happy that Mazz and Bads was on the money, and the only reason why we came off that take is because every report in the damn land said he doesn't want it and the Warriors don't want it, but guess what? Apparently everybody came to an understanding and said, yeah, we got to do this.
Yeah, so this is a massive 4-team trade here. So Golden State gets Jimmy Butler. The Heat end up with PJ Tucker, Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson in a first round pick. Pistons get Lindy Waters III and Josh Richardson. Utah Jazz get Dennis Schroeder. So, yeah, Mazz, like you mentioned earlier in the week, it was reported that a trade strictly between the Heat and the Warriors was done. And that the only thing that was standing in the way of it actually being completed was Jimmy Butler not wanting to go to Golden State. So, my question is, what happened in the last few days that Jimmy changed his mind? You know what I mean? Like what made him say, you know what? Okay, sure, I will go to Golden State. I will sign a 2-year extension as soon as I get here.
Steph. Steph could
Maybe.
have just stepped in and helped broker stuff between Jimmy, because Steph's one of the faces of the league, and I think he's also a great leader in that locker room. But really quick, I'm shocked that Phoenix didn't get really involved in this, right? Like you thought KD was going to get moved, and there were some reports that there was going to be a massive blockbuster 3-way trade between Phoenix, Miami, and Golden State, sending KD to Golden State, sending Jimmy to Phoenix, sending was it Kuminga or something to Miami. Like you heard these reports that this was going to be a blockbuster, but I'm shocked Phoenix really didn't get involved in this. But Jimmy going to Golden State, I think it's an upgrade from Wiggins, right? Like Wiggins was supposed to be a slasher, defender, kind of wing guy. I think Jimmy does that at such a higher level. And you have that, and you saw when Wiggins was playing at his best, that's when the Warriors won that 2022 finals. Put Jimmy in and have Jimmy playoff runs that he usually goes on, mixed up with Curry, mixed up with Dre, mixed up with Steve Kerr scheming. I don't know, man. Golden State, I like their stock right now. I think they can definitely make a push here.
So, I mean, listen, just the fact, I'll tell you right now, I think he was waiting for the Phoenix trade. I don't know, like, he was dying for that Phoenix trade to come. Dude, he could have went to better places, I think, too. I think Milwaukee would have been absolutely awesome if he would have went there. Luckily for the Warriors, he did sign the 2-year extension that they were hoping that he was going to sign. But I think this just literally came down to Miami telling him, we no longer want you, and this is the only place where we can send you that you're going to compete. So we could send you somewhere else, but we've already lost out on those trades from your unwillingness wanting to go there. So if you want to get out of here and we want you to get out of here, this is where it's going to have to be. And I think he saw the writing on the wall and said, all right, I got to walk out. Snaps, let me ask you this. The fact that the Warriors were able to keep Kuminga, how underrated is that to you?
Love it. I think it's very underrated. It's flying under the radar because they're just adding this all-star piece, but it kept most of their like rotational role players. Like you're gonna have Buddy Hield and Kuminga with Jimmy Butler. Like to me, that's a few really good versatile wings, shooting, defense. Jimmy can do a little bit of it all. Kevon Looney, defensive big, mixed with Steph. Steve Kerr aspect is huge. I agree. I really like the Warriors squad, and I feel like the Heat for their return, I guess it was a decent return. You get was it a protected first rounder?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, you get a couple role players, but I feel like
I feel like people sleep on Andrew Wiggins, man. I really do. I'm not saying he's not amazing, but he's a fantastic defender, and some nights he can shoot, some nights he can't. I mean, that's really what it comes down to with him. Like if he's hot or cold that night. I think Miami's super excited to get him in there and slot him in at the small forward spot. I think he's going to be a really good defender for him. Spoelstra's going to know how to use him. I think everybody kind of won here.
To expand,
I agree. I think the Heat are like a perfect team for Andrew Wiggins. Sorry, Cafone. They're usually just this team filled with all of these like really good players, and they've made a couple final runs, obviously led by Jimmy and Bam, but they're filled with a lot of depth and just very well-balanced players, and Andrew Wiggins is that. So they're continuing their path.
I do think that it's very interesting at how just willing Miami is. Hey, we need to hit the reset button. Like, I'm sorry, Andrew Wiggins is cool. My man even got the 3-point badge in 2K. Didn't even know that was a thing. I guess Golden State has really helped out his 3-point shooting being there. Why wouldn't it? Steve Kerr is awesome, right? But I don't know, man. I don't necessarily love the return for a guy of the caliber of Jimmy. This is the most slept on star in the NBA. This
Maz, you got
guy,
you got to remember he's 35 years old, though.
I get that.
That's the
I
problem.
get that. But do you think that there's not a championship run left in this guy? This is the guy that takes you over the hump potentially. I firmly believe it. This is a guy who's gotten to the finals with Bam Adebayo as his second. And mind you, Tyler Hero was nowhere to be found because he was injured during both of those runs getting up there, right?
don't
So
forget-
it's like,
I'm sorry. Finish your point.
go ahead.
No, I said, and don't forget.
Don't forget what.
Now with Buddy Hield and Kuminga, he doesn't have to play 40 minutes a game anymore. He could play, 29, 31, 32 minutes a game. He'd be a little bit more fresh. He's not going to be dying over the scorer's table like he was when he was in Miami. So I think this is amazing because he'll be fresh. He'll be able to play the whole playoff run, and mixing him up with Steph, who, let's face it, he was doing this with Tyler Hero back in the day. Now you have the greatest shooter in the history of the planet next to you. Like, this is an upgrade. Like, this is what Jimmy Butler should be looking for. I don't even understand why he wanted to go to Phoenix. Phoenix is terrible. I'm sorry. It's not a good situation. Bradley Beal is not that good. I think they're going to get rid of they're going to move on with KD. Like, it wasn't going to be the situation that Jimmy needed to win. This situation right here is what what Jimmy Butler needed to be in. He needed to be in Golden State.
Do you think it had anything? I generally don't even know, honestly, because like I would figured you'd want to be with a guy like where you're not taking the criticism where like guys want to win, but they also don't want it to be like, oh, LeBron carried you, oh, Steph carried you. Like KD's won, but like it's that is a weird situation because people criticize him for the fashion in which he won. So I would think that maybe Jimmy wanted to go somewhere. Even Giannis getting it done, having the multiple MVPs. I think he was just trying to get to Phoenix of, hey, this is somewhere where if we win, I don't have to deal with that narrative. Dude, people have egos with it. Jimmy definitely has an ego. I love him. He's one of my favorite players on the planet, if not my favorite superstar in the league, because he is, in fact, a damn superstar. And I will tell you this right now, I don't want to see the Warriors. I think they're a better roster than the Lakers are right now when you look at top to bottom. So, yes, our top is definitely better, but their middle is better, and their bottom is better. This is a better coached team. This is a better constructed team. I'm afraid of the Warriors if I'm in the West.
Maz, they're not even in the play-in right now.
They're going to make it, dude. They're absolutely going to make
Dallas is in the play-in right now. Their stock's going to go up. Or they're out of the play-in right now, Dallas? Currently?
No, Dallas is the 8th seed right
it.
now.
It's the 8th, and the Warriors are going to absolutely sneak on in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they will, but I don't think that. Well, sorry, Ryan. I just wanted to say I don't think they're not a championship team to me after this trade. They're not.
I disagree wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. We're getting caught up in age, but we're going to sit here and say LeBron James is 40. Nobody cares about that. Jimmy Butler's 35, is still putting out quality performance after quality performance. Is it the same kind of numbers of LeBron? No, but there's things that Jimmy does that you literally can't quantify, particularly on the defensive end of things, and that wins games in the East clearly. You add that with Steph, I don't know how you're not impressed by this trade. I don't know how this doesn't move the needle for you, respectively.
I mean, I think they can win a playoff series, maybe two, but I don't think they have conference finals or championship written in their future. I don't.
I think they have a better chance with that roster than the Lakers do, and I'm the Lakers fan here.
I think it's definitely fair to be cautious of the Warriors, and I definitely put them in the contender range for the conference finals. But yeah, Maz, I think having better teams, like when you're talking about Dallas and Golden State having more depth or being better coached or just, being better, well-rounded, I think in the come playoff time, that doesn't necessarily matter when you have these elite players. It does matter sometimes, but when you have Luka and LeBron, sometimes what takes out these teams that are just full of chemistry and just depth, Usually the superstars
What took out Luka in the finals? It was depth. Because Jason Tatum didn't even shoot that good. Jaylen Brown was playing good, but depth is how you beat these guys. Because if you force them to play the full 40 minutes, you got to get tired at some point. If I can rotate in quality, it's not like we're just talking about having depth of, whatever. Like, we're talking about quality players who can compete. They might not be at the level, but if I can constantly throw those different rotations at you, and Steve Kerr's one of the best coaches in there, like, yeah, dude, I'm telling you right now, I have more faith in Steve Kerr than I do in JJ Redick for good reason. The guy's won multiple chips and has managed multiple big personalities. Where JJ, we're still trying to see. It looks like he's turned the corner now and things are going in a better direction, but we still have a lot to see. I mean, it's literally half a season of coaching, so you can't tell me you have more faith in the coaching situation. Steve Kerr's been known to get the job done.
Oh, that's fair. The Celtics definitely got them, and they full of depth. But let's be real, they also have high-level all-stars and two-way players. But my point, the Mavs took out teams full of depth on their way to the finals. OKC, Minnesota, and what was the third team? Clippers. They beat all three of those teams who are full of depth when it's really just led by Kyrie, Luka, some big men, and a lot of three-point shooting. So I think it's possible for a team led by Luka to take out some teams that are constructed differently.
Dude, we'll have to wait and see for it. And speaking of being constructed differently, San Antonio shaking things up with Sacramento and the new Muppets of the NBA, the Chicago Bulls, because I don't know what the hell they're doing. But De'Aaron Fox now down in San Antonio and has a mentor in Chris Paul. Not that he necessarily needs it. I mean, that kid is a star in his own right. But now to learn underneath that and pair him with, we keep talking about Luka. How about the other generational talent, a legitimate alien, 7'3", and yet can somehow play like a center and play like Kevin Durant on any given moment that he needs to, because he's a freak of nature in Victor Wembanyama. Guys, the San Antonio Spurs are probably going to have a dynasty.
Because they traded for De'Aaron Fox?
Because if they get another piece with Wembanyama, absolutely. I think this is the team of the future, dude.
I'm not even denying that. I think Wembanyama is so good, and Fox, it's like a perfect pairing. Like, he's such a fast playmaking point guard. Like, they're gonna be such a good duo for so many years.
Yeah, don't
I don't disagree. I think Fox is a good number 3, but let me know who that number 2 is, and then we can have dynasty conversations. Wemby's definitely that good.
Fox is a 2.
But
Come on.
Fox is a 3.
I think Fox is absolutely a 2 when you're dealing with it's not just a 1 in Wembanyama. This could be the one of ones. Dude, this is what year number 1? 2. Thank you. Year 2, and the kid is already looking like he's exactly as advertised, if not better.
He's the front runner. He's the front runner for Depoy. Many people argued he should have won it last year. He's averaging over 25 a game and 13, 14 rebounds, 4 blocks. He's an alien.
4 blocks.
But they showed
and he's not really in foul trouble like that.
He has more blocks through his first, I think it's like 100 games than Wilt, than Bill Russell. Then these guys were playing against guys who were 5'8". This is crazy, right? These are unworldly numbers. So I think the fact that you're getting a guy like De'Aaron Fox, like Ryan was saying and Charlie was saying, he's quick, great first step. He doesn't have a great outside shot, but I think that can be tuned up as time moves on. If I'm San Antonio in this last day of the deadline, I'm looking for shooters. I'm looking for guys that we can get on the wing, get spot up, and we can, scheme up and try to get threes. Because, same thing with Wemby. He's a decent outside shooter, but he'll get cold at times as well. San Antonio needs to go after a shooter today before this 4 o'clock deadline, because I think that's the last piece they really need.
I'm so convinced in the future of this team that I legitimately think that third star could be a guy of the caliber of like a Chris Middleton, and they're still going to win multiple championships in the future, because that's how much faith that, and I'm not saying that Chris Middleton's a bum. You guys know that I criticize him a lot. He's not my favorite player, but it does not need to be a star of stars. It just needs to be somebody that can be useful and that you can go to in certain moments when the other two are just a little bit tired, right? Like somebody that can literally catch and shoot 3. If they go and get that dude, I really think within not the next 2 seasons, but the following years after that, it is just Spurs game to lose at that point, unless the Lakers make some serious noise and unless OKC keeps on battling with it. But who else do you really have faith to compete with these guys in the future? Maybe Orlando,
Minnesota,
if they get
maybe
other pieces, maybe Minnesota. But it's like they have the pieces. Everybody else has to get the pieces. I feel like, Like, you can't look at me, Snaps. I know you're a Magic fan. You can't tell me you look at that roster and say that is a championship squad right this second in the upcoming years. They need a piece or
Ooh,
two.
Orlando?
Yes.
Oh, 100%. They're not even ready. It's a bunch of kids. They're just still
No, but I'm
figuring
saying, like, even if they stay together, do you think that they have enough, or do you think they need more?
I don't think the current like nucleus of the Orlando Magic is necessarily a championship team. I think parts of it potentially
For
Paolo
sure.
and Suggs and Franz, maybe two of them. We'll see
Ex-
though.
But this-
exactly what you said. The Spurs have the nucleus right here, right now with this trade.
But this is what they said about the Cavs a few years ago. Were the Cavs ready to win a championship in the next few years? Everyone was like, we don't know. But the Cavs, ballooned and became the number 1 seed with only single-digit losses, and we're still in February. So it's like, it's just all about maturing. And I agree. I think Wemby is a player right now in his stage of his career in year 2 who could be a number 1 on a championship team. I just think right now the Spurs, they need to overhaul this roster. Of course, getting De'Aaron Fox is the first step. But again, more shooters, and you need some depth. Because right now, off the bench, you have Sandro Mamukelashvili, Seton Hall fan here. Let's go, Sandro. And you got Jeremy Sohan.
You kind of killed that pronunciation, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
I killed it, right? Because I watched him for 4 years at Seton Hall, man. That's my guy. But but I love Sandro, but he's not a guy that should be coming off the bench and playing 12 minutes for you during an NBA season. Same thing with Jeremy Sohan. Like, these are guys that are like they're solid, but they can't be playing 12, 15 minutes a night. You need some good depth options if you're San Antonio. This year's probably not the year for them. I still think they got like maybe another year or two to keep things moving and get in the right direction. I think they go on a good run at the end of this season. Like right now, I think they're just out of the play-in. So if they can get into like the 6 seed, 7 seed conversation, make it into the high end of the play-in, I would consider this a successful season if you're a San Antonio Spurs fan.
I think you're right, but like I said, like even with that, like the fact that we have Ant says that, nobody says qualms about that. I say the Warriors are gonna sneak into the playoffs, and you might as well sue me, Charlie. Like these are squads now. This is what moves do. I didn't say you did. All right, I'm just saying these are moves now. This is, hey, we can do something right now, make a little noise, and this is win now moves. We are absolutely making the playoffs. I'm not even concerned about that. What I am concerned about, I don't know what the hell Sacramento is doing. We've already seen a Zach LaVine pairing with a DeMar DeRozan. Yes, I understand that you add in a Sabonis, but dude, this ain't it. I don't know what they're thinking. This is what you wanted back. I mean, come on. I like Zach LaVine. I think Zach LaVine put on the greatest dunk competition in the history of the game, and that's with Vince Carter sitting at number 2 and Aaron Gordon sitting at 3, who some people thought that he won, right? So, like, this is a fun guy to watch, but I'm sorry. They could barely, just putting that duo in the East could barely get it done. They literally couldn't get it done. And now throwing over to the West, this is like just throwing chickens to the wolves, dude. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, I agree. The Kings had a really good run, 2 seasons ago with this core, and given up already for the duo that we've already seen. I don't really know. I mean, you've got Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, Monk, and some other like good players, but in the West, Rosen and Levine, that's not cutting it at all. I agree.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. Like you know these guys' ceiling is the play-in in the East, so why would you want to recreate it out in the West, which is at this point probably a more difficult conference?
You didn't have Sabonis this time. Sabonis is the difference maker.
In terms of quantity, Sabonis is basically Vucevic.
No, he's better than Vucevic.
No, he's definitely better than Vucevic, but I understand what Charlie is saying, where it's like yes, he plays better defense. Yes, he rebounds.
Your European center who doesn't play defense and can score a lot of points.
No,
Sabonis gets a lot of rebounds, way more than Vucevic does.
Yeah, he plays a lot better defense than Vucevic. But I hear you though. It's not a 3 pairing where this is like, oh my god, we're like, dude, I'm telling you, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Buddy Hield move the needle more, or Kuminga move the needle more. Chris Paul, Wembanyama, and De'Aaron Fox move the needle more. Hell, even Luka Doncic old man LeBron James and Austin freaking Reeves move the needle more. This is like, what was the point of making this trade? I understand that you wanted to move on from Fox, but I don't think you got nearly the pieces that you wanted. And I'll be honest with you, everybody who's criticizing the Mavs, they got a better return than what the Sacramento Kings have gotten for this. I think that they are the second worst team in this entirety of the trades that have happened.
So the Kings got 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks out of this. So that's not
Okay.
exactly a nothing haul. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I just, if you want to mortgage the future, that's fine. But the point of getting Zach LaVine with it, are you tanking with those picks? Because otherwise they're going to be middle of the pack.
I mean, well, one of them belongs to Charlotte. One of them belongs to San Antonio. One of them belongs to Minnesota. One of them, the second-round picks belong to Denver, Chicago.
So you love this?
I mean,
you love the trade?
I don't love it. I mean, if you're getting an asset in Zach LaVine back, who I don't know how many years left he's got on his contract, but like you're at least competitive for the next few years with him and DeRozan.
They
But
have an injury history there too.
But definitely, I mean, but if you're the Kings, I mean, do you think you're going to win a championship this season anyway? No.
No, if you're letting something as young as De'Aaron Fox walk out the door, I would prefer a bigger
I
player
think
than Zach LaVine.
LaVine's younger, isn't he?
He might be, but he's not the caliber of player that Fox is.
Oh no, LaVine's 29. Wow, never mind.
Yeah,
You
Fox
know?
probably a few years younger.
Well, I think for the
I don't know.
Spurs, one name that they should be looking into before this deadline comes to a close, Cam Johnson, because the Nets are looking to shop him. He's probably the best pure shooter that's still available, at this deadline right now. And I know the Nets are asking for a lot, but if I'm the Spurs, what's like a first, a protected first, a second, and like maybe a bench piece for.
You just want some picks, bro.
Listen, the Nets have been robbing teams these last year, so I'm look at the KD now. KD has not been moved yet, but if he does get moved, I am going to stand by that it is the greatest trade in the history of the Nets. Getting rid of KD because we've now flipped KD. I saw a list. It was like, how many firsts now? It's like 8 firsts, a couple of seconds, and we also got Cam Johnson out of it, like because the Mikal Bridges
because
trade.
Mikal Bridges,
Yeah.
and then
We flipped KD for almost like 10 picks. It's crazy.
Glad to see that you guys are on the opposite side of this conversation because that Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett one really screwed you.
We're
So,
actually rebuilding.
While we're on the topic of KD, so I wanted to talk about the alleged 3-team trade that was in the works that was going to send KD to Golden State, Jimmy to Phoenix, and Wiggins to Miami. So apparently the piece of this deal that got everything messed up was Bradley Beal, because across the entire NBA, there's only 2 players with no trade clauses in their contract. One is LeBron James, and the second one is Bradley Beal. Okay? And he was going to be sent to a 4th team to try and just get that contract off the books for Phoenix so they could take on some of these salaries. And Bradley Beal was like, "No, I don't want to get traded. I want to stay here in Phoenix. Why would I want to leave?" And that screwed everything up for the Suns, and why they have not made any moves yet, because their contracts, their situation is just so messed up with KD, Booker, Bradley Beal, and his albatross of a contract with his no trade clause. That trade is looking more and more like Matt Ishbia when he first bought the Suns and came in and was like, "All right, let's go. Come on, 3 All-Stars, here we go." It's just so bad. So bad.
Well, not to mention he got rid of the wrong coach too. I mean, Mike Budenholzer just isn't it. I'll stand by that forever. Monty Williams, I don't care what happened in Detroit, still a quality coach and drew up the greatest play I've ever seen in my damn life in the Valley Oop. But besides the fact, and I promise you right now, if Monty Williams would have had this team, they're a lot better seed than what they are currently, and are probably competing because he's that good of a coach in my eyes. Second off, what is with Phoenix? Do they have the greatest tax cut for NBA players or something? I do not understand why guys are hounding to be here right now. I will never understand why Jimmy was like, "It needs to be Phoenix. It absolutely needs to be Phoenix." He's from Houston, for crying out loud. So there's something going on in Phoenix. Maybe that Ponce de Leon was in the wrong place. It wasn't Florida. The Fountain of Youth was actually in freaking Phoenix, Arizona. I don't know. I don't understand what's going on here. But nonetheless, this ain't it, bro. I like Bradley Beal too. I guarantee that he got all those stipulations of that contract. The year that he was did he win the scoring title, or he was like right behind for scoring
Right
title?
behind, I want to say.
You know, so he was you know, quality in Washington, but this roster with it, I mean, did anybody ever think that this was really going to work out? There's one basketball. It's the same kind of player. You know, they're all bona fide, just shooting wings. It just didn't make sense to me from the get go. I mean, Devin Booker, I know, has taken over some point guard duties. He ain't a point guard. He's not a playmaker. Bradley Beal is the same kind of guy he is. I mean, they're both shot chuckers. Kevin Durant, again, is a shooter. Like, I don't understand what they were thinking when constructing this roster. I don't understand what they were thinking when they were bringing in Mike Budenholzer. I don't care that he won a championship. That's the most flawed championship I've ever seen in my life. It's just everything from the start of this new ownership. I'm glad the guy bought the team, right? I just do not like how he's gone about it. Oh, I'm bringing in my buddies and we're gonna have just this grand old time and yada yada yada. It's just not working. I don't understand. I don't understand why I keep wanting to say Kevin Garnett. I don't understand why Kevin Durant didn't want to go back to Golden State when that's where you've had the most success in your damn career. That makes no sense to me either. But here we are. And they didn't even need them to get the deal done. And Miami's happy, Golden State's happy, and guess who's still not happy unless they move Kevin Durant by, what is it, like 4 o'clock today?
Yeah. Well, I will say the only reason why I could see Kevin Durant not wanting to go back to Golden State is a giant Draymond Green. Wasn't that the whole reason why he kind of wanted to leave? Was he was butting heads with Draymond at almost every single turn? I wouldn't want to go back to a situation where I mean, of course they won championships, but if I'm not getting along with one of the biggest, leaders in the locker room, why would I want to go back?
Rings. Because it's about championships. Because adversity happens at work sometimes. Sometimes we don't like our coworkers and we need to put our differences aside
But do you
and
think
actually
the
get
Warriors
the damn
win a
job done.
Would you rather
I don't
Jimmy
know.
Butler or Kevin Durant if you're in Golden State right now? If you're the GM?
Kevin Durant.
I personally would prefer Jimmy. I just think I understand if you prefer Kevin Durant. I completely understand. I just prefer Jimmy just because I think Jimmy's going to be able to match that intensity of Draymond, and I actually think it's going to be like two Tasmanian devils just all over the court. I think Draymond is going to see a spark again, and I just see the possibilities of not only just clamping teams. I see teams quite literally mentally breaking playing against those two. But Kevin Durant, I mean, yeah, he's the better scorer. I mean, this is the second place guy tied with Allen Iverson for scoring championships in the NBA, only behind Michael Jordan. Like, this is a generational talent. Like, I completely understand. And this is a team that has gotten it done before. And Clay's not there, but let's be honest, the last time that Clay was there and they got the job done, Clay wasn't even a giant part of it because of the injuries. So it's putting the band back together is putting the band back together. It could work. I don't think you're winning multiple championships, but maybe you could have got one. You don't never know with these kind of things. However, I don't understand if you're KD why you wouldn't want to go there instead of staying in Phoenix if that's the other option. Snaps?
Yeah, no, I don't know. The Kevin Durant situation is just interesting to me. He's such a great player that you can add on almost any single team, any contending team, and he will fit perfectly. So I would personally prefer Kevin Durant over Jimmy Butler, but it's going to work. It's going to work regardless for Golden State at least. I mean, I really agree with the sentiment of having Draymond and Jimmy Butler together. I think the thought of that defensively is just so awesome.
Mentally breaking teams. I mean, Charlie, would you rather just stay in the position that's clearly going nowhere, or would you rather, go back to the place where you didn't get along with one guy, but you guys still had your most success in terms of, championships? Which is supposed to be the most important thing, damn it.
No, definitely. The problem is, I think it had more to do with Kevin Durant not wanting to go back to Golden State because he knows that every fan in the NBA, every basketball fan across the world would clown on him and dunk on him for running back to Golden State because he couldn't win anywhere else. And I know Kevin Durant says that kind of stuff doesn't bother him, but I think it really bothers him. I think he's a little thin-skinned. I think we all understand that with the burner accounts and all that stuff. You know what I mean? It's just I don't get it. I mean, he's 35 too. Him and Jimmy are kind of in the same spot, except they have different skill sets. I'd want KD. I'd want KD.
Fair enough. Fellas, we got to talk about the new Muppets of the NBA. Chicago, what the hell are you doing? I think they got their own pick back from that entire saga with Zach LaVine. And the only good thing that's came out of it is that Lonzo Ball now has 2 more years, I think, at $20 million valued. What are they doing? What are they doing? There was no pick haul. They waited forever to trade LaVine. He's been in trade talks for over a damn year now. There was absolutely better packages that were proposed that they shot down, and they take this. What are we doing in Chicago besides putting on a clown show?
To be fair, I will defend Chicago on this because over the past few years with DeRozan and Levine in this team with Vucevic, that was their three that they tried to put all together to have a good Eastern Conference team. And no one believed in that. Let's be honest. They didn't amount to anything, and now they're fully resetting. They got rid of DeRozan. They got rid of Levine. They brought in Giddey last year, who I think was an underrated move for Caruso. I mean, he's a ball handler, playmaking type young player. So I think they just reset. Lonzo, Giddey, and Patrick Williams or Kobe White, Buzelis they drafted last year, like you're in a full rebuild now. So that's the only way that you can reset your team and get over the hump, which they were stuck in the middle. So I don't mind it. I think Chicago is kind of doing what they were forced to do.
But if you want to hit that reset, right? Look at Sacramento. I mean, like, I don't love what they got back in terms of player personnel, but as Charlie did correct me on, 3 first-round picks with that. That's how you start this rebuild. I'm sorry, you can't play Lonzo Ball with Kobe White and Josh Giddey all on the same floor, Choose one and move on from the other two. Or, you cannot just be sitting here at point guard, just heavy and just be like, oh yeah, this is going to make our rebuild work. Again, Chicago has proven we have no direction, we absolutely have no plan, and we've actually blew up the old plan for an even worser plan because at least those guys can all be on the same damn court at the same time.
True, that's fair. But the pairing of them together wasn't really the greatest fit either.
Sure.
And they are guard heavy now, especially with young players like Lonzo, Kobe, and Giddey. Like you are right, they all are pretty ball centric players. So maybe getting rid of them would help. But
Where's the scoring? Where's the scoring?
Oh yeah, they don't really have any proven players on the wing or anything to look forward to. But potentially in the draft in the coming years and other moves, they needed a reset though. They were sitting in the middle of the pack for too long, and they needed to do something.
I don't think this is it, fellas. Charlie, how do you feel about this?
I mean, it's probably a year or two too late. I mean, I think we can all come to that conclusion. If anyone could have seen this writing on the wall after, I mean, I think it was like 2-3 years in a row they've gotten to the play-in and have been unable to get past the hump. I think maybe they had a first round series against Milwaukee a few years ago, but it's just they reached the ceiling. They're blowing it up. They got a few young guys back. Trey Jones is a young guard you can develop maybe. Herder, I mean, he's a shooting wing. I'm trying to find any bright spot here, man. This just isn't.
There isn't one.
There
Sometimes it's just horrible, and this is horrible.
I just think Levine, the problem with him was towards the end of his Bulls tenure, you could just see he was fed up with the front office, fed up with the coaching staff, fed up with the moves. In the times where he was at his best, which was 4 years ago, they had the pieces. They had DeRozan, they had Lonzo, they had all these guys who were the 1 seed in the East through 3 months of the season, and then the wheels fell off. And I think Levine was hoping Lonzo could get back in healthy, and he was taking a while, and DeRozan was starting to regress. So and then no one was really giving him help around him. So and he was always in trade talks. He just kind of checked out mentally. And at that time, every NBA team in the entire league kind of just knew we don't need to really pay much for Zach LaVine because he doesn't want to be there. So they didn't have to go. And whenever Chicago was asking for a lot of assets, teams were just like, no. I mean, LaVine's not that kind of player, and we're also not going to be getting. You guys need to move him right now. We don't need to get him right now, right? That was the sentiment across the league. And when you hold on to a player for that long and he starts to regress, and then you trade him away for peanuts, as an organization, it just makes you look incompetent. It makes you look silly. And I think right now the Bulls. Like we said, they're in such a tough spot because right now they haven't lost enough games to qualify for a top 7-8 pick. Like they're not going to be getting Ace, they're not going to be getting Dillon, they're not going to be getting Cooper. Like these are the guys that, restart a franchise. And, in a draft like this, you want to be in one of those top 5 picks. Maybe they get a VJ Edgecombe potentially. Like he could fall to them. But like right now, like they don't have nothing. They don't have any assets. They don't have really any good quality draft picks. Next year, they're going to probably start their tank again. They're probably going to sell off all their assets and restart from the bottom and try to do, an OKC rebuild. And that's going to take 3-4 years. Chicago's going to be in a lot of tough future ahead of them.
First off, they can't even do an OKC because they don't have the star players that have the tradable assets to get those picks. Like they sold off everything to get that. There's nothing left to sell, and the things that you actually let go, you took worser deals for than what you turned down in the past. Like the fact that the Brooklyn Nets have a brighter future than you is a problem. All right. And I don't think anybody can ever disagree with that. It's just you have literally sold everything at pennies on the dollar. You got nothing in return. You got your own draft pick back at the end of all of this. And it's just absolutely horrible. Right. There's I've been so critical of players, I feel like, of just teaming up and this and that. And everybody has been talking about, there's just no loyalty. But what about the organizations and their loyalty? Look what Jimmy did for Miami. They kept him hostage and just made him honestly look like a problem, right? When he's been the best thing that's happened to you since LeBron James walked out the door and went back to damn Cleveland, right? How they treated him, I don't like that. How Chicago has treated Zach LaVine of just constantly, hey, dude, we're going to be moving you at some point. We don't want you, but however, we're going to keep you here and just make you miserable, but we're also going to slowly sell off everything around you that has some damn value, but we're not actually getting any value in return for it. The way that they've treated him, I just don't like it. So it's like if I'm an NBA player, and especially how Luka was just treated, where it's just out of nowhere, congratulations, buddy, you literally just bought a house, and we are shipping you out the door without any damn warning. Why would players be home guys? Why would I want to be loyal to these organizations when clearly at any moment, at any time, they're going to choose themselves over helping us get to good situations? They are going to 110% just look out for them and only them while making us look bad. Like, it just makes no sense. I mean, come on. Luka's fat and out of shape. Luka doesn't want to be here. Apparently that's a lie. Jimmy's a headache. Jimmy doesn't want to be here. Also a lie. His team put out multiple times, I'm ready to come back to work and still play for this organization. And I'd rather, if it's not going to be Phoenix, I'd rather be here for reasons I don't understand, but I'm sure living in South Florida is awesome. Other than that, I just don't get what these organizations are doing. If you want players to be loyal and want to play for you got to help them out on the return side as well. When it's time to get rid of them, god damn it, get rid of them instead of wasting their time and wasting their careers and making them disgruntled. Like I feel like the way that we are operating for most of the franchise in the NBA just makes no damn sense. And then we get upset when guys want to leave. It just doesn't make sense. All right, fellas, our last big trade going down. Brandon Ingram no longer in New Orleans and gets shipped up north with the Toronto Raptors. I'm going to start with Charlie here. What are you thinking about this trade?
So I kind of like this trade for both sides. Pelicans in the same kind of atmosphere as Sacramento and Chicago, where you've seen it through with this core. It's time to shake things up. They've achieved what they've achieved, and let's keep moving. So for the Toronto side of things, you now have a pretty solid starting 5. You got RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, you got Ingram, Scotty Barnes, and you got Jakob Poeltl. Now, you look at the bench and it's not so great because they traded Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk in this deal, so you lost some depth there. But that's a 5 that's probably better than almost, I want to say, half the NBA. Is that crazy to say?
Don't they have 12 wins?
I think it has potential. I think
they're so great they should be winning already.
I think it has potential. I don't love the starting 5. I'm not gonna sit here and be fair. Oh, this is the core of the century. But I do think hey, let's give it some time to grow. Ingram's not that old. These guys are still up and coming. Who knows? I feel like this will look like a completely different team with Ingram on it for next season.
I like
actually.
Sorry.
I just wanted to say real quick that just to add this is the last year of Ingram's contract, so he's a free agent. Sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
And no, that was big to add. I would be willing to bet he probably doesn't want to stay in Toronto. He didn't want to stay in New Orleans, and that's why they ended up moving off him because they couldn't come to an extension over the past however long. I do love the duo or the thought of having Barnes and Ingram next to each other. Those are two wings that complement each other and play differently. You got the ISO, bucket getter, and Ingram, and then Scotty Barnes, who can do a little bit of everything, especially defensively. But yeah, it's probably just the middle of the pack range team, but I think for Toronto, it makes sense to try and swing for the fences a little bit and get you an all-star caliber player who's entering his prime right now. He's got 5 years of greatness, like whatever Brandon Ingram's going to bring you. So yeah, I think it's a swing for the fences. You hope he stays, but it's risky.
Here's the thing: Scotty Barnes has kind of had a little bit of a drop off this year. He hasn't been playing his best. If they were really as good as what you guys are making them out to be, they would have had more wins this season. 16-35 is their record as of February 6th. It's just not going to get it done. And I get Brandon Ingram's a good scorer. To me, Brandon Ingram's a number 3 on a championship team. So you're insinuating now that Scotty Barnes is going to be your 1, and then who's going to be your 2? Who's going to be your number 2
Brandon
scorer?
I think Ingram is in that range of a.
Not for a championship team.
Not for a championship team, but on this team, he slides into their number 2 spot.
But I don't get, then why are you buying then? Why are you trying to get a player of Brandon Ingram's caliber if you're not trying to win?
Maybe Masai Ujiri and Darko are coaching and GMing for their jobs right now. Maybe ownership's fed up with them and they say, hey, if you don't win enough this year.
To me, that's not a good move then, if I'm Toronto.
I mean, if you're trying to show progress and make the play-in this year, maybe it's a good move. But other than that, yeah, I don't think it gets you much farther than that.
Well, and I think
also,
I'm sorry.
We're also sitting here and saying that, how do we know that they don't get the deal done? I mean, we have no clue. What is the market for Brandon Ingram looking like?
But
where do you see him going?
Besides the fact, there's a reason why free agents don't go to Toronto. It's because the money. It's different. It's a different currency. They're not going to get as high of an extension as if they go to another team. And frankly, there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be vying for a Brandon Ingram type of player who are in a better situation to win.
So give me those teams. Give me 3 teams you think that Brandon Ingram would have mutual interest with bringing him in for next season. Because when I did see that, I thought he had 1 more year with it. Okay, I like that. Keep talking to me.
Dallas,
I like that.
I think you could potentially see like a Clippers maybe get in there. Maybe Memphis. Rockets. There are a lot of teams out there that are going to be competing. For
Atlanta.
Yeah. San Antonio.
They were already they couldn't get the deal done now. Maybe they're just waiting for that to happen in free agency.
San Antonio right there. Another
really
team.
thought it was going to be. I'll tell you right now, out of everything that you just said, Texas should absolutely go and look and get a Brandon Ingram because he could be that 3 with Kyrie and AD. I would really like that. But you want to talk about building for the future? I mean, Brandon Ingram with De'Aaron Fox and Wemby. I mean, it's kind of like the same situation.
And that's your number 3 on a championship team right there. You have a big 3 of Wemby, De'Aaron Fox, and Brandon Ingram.
Can I get a round of applause for producer and for just the best scenarios we've had in a while? And this is perfect fits. I'm with you. If anybody disagrees, please speak now. But I actually think that right there is the most flawless sense Anthony Cafone has ever made in any show, anywhere, ever. And he has great takes. I firmly believe that I can't even argue this one right now, and I can argue anything.
Hey, when Mazz can't argue something, you know you did something right, bro.
Bro, I got nothing. I have no counterpoint for you. I got nothing. Dallas or San Antonio would be fantastic for him.
I still think Fox is a high-end 3 and not a number 2 on a championship team. Dude, he never even won a playoff series in Sacramento.
Who he had for help?
Sabonis.
Sabonis.
That's his
you
1.
just sat there and told me that Sabonis was literally Nikola Vucevic. That's how much you think of him.
So, yeah.
And Vucevic is good? Is a good player?
He's not a 1. He's not a 1.
That's what I'm saying.
You're saying
that's what I'm saying.
De'Aaron Fox is not a 2.
So De'Aaron Fox never had any help, and if he did, he had, your version of Nikola Vucevic, which was.
Now you have Wemby, who's generational. He's a 2.
I understand what Wemby is generational. Wemby is absolutely your number 1, But I'm sorry, but De'Aaron Fox is not the second best player on a championship team, even with a generational talent in
Last
Victor
night, in
Wembanyama.
his first
Even with
game
Brandon
in
Ingram?
San Antonio.
Yes.
In his first game in San Antonio last night, he drops 27 points on 11 of 20 shooting.
I think it's
Come on.
possible, Charlie. I think if you have like like, are we saying in 3 years from now, De'Aaron Fox can't be the same caliber as like a Jalen Brown or Middleton? Like, there's been second best players.
Oh, listen to me.
that are
He's
like,
through the roof in terms of
agree.
potential of Chris Middleton. It's not even close.
I agree, but like
He's better than Chris Middleton now than Chris Middleton ever was in my eyes. Okay.
I agree, but there was a point in time where Chris Middleton was a good ass All-Star 3-and-D scorer. You know,
There
like,
was a time where Chris Middleton was getting a lot of open looks and a lot of attention taken off him because Giannis was that dude in the NBA, and everybody was building the wall of Giannis trying to keep him out, and he benefited from that. Did we lose him?
I think we lost him for a second there. Ryan?
Snaps, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? I'm here.
Yeah, you cut
Yeah.
out a second, buddy. Could you just repeat
Yeah.
that?
That's what would happen, like, if with Wemby and Fox as well. Like, when you're around great players, your players are going to increase in.
Oh, but I'm not arguing against you that he's not going to be the
I
number
know.
2. I think he's going to take even better advantage of the wall of Wembanyama being built and trying to keep him out of the bucket. You know, so I firmly believe like we're on the same level here, Snaps. I think he's better than Chris Middleton. I think that there's way more potential than Chris Middleton ever had, respectfully. And I firmly believe if Brandon Ingram slides in here, I mean, De'Aaron Fox might look like the number 3 just because he's going to be passing the damn ball off to them so much, you know? But he is 110%, I think, the catalyst to making things work in San Antonio because Wembanyama is going to have so much attention on him. This is the perfect guy to take it off him. And you get a guy... Even as I think Ingram's solid, I think that would be a solid third piece to add into it, and I still think that Ingram would be the third, and I still think it wins not only championships. I think we're talking dynasty.
All right, we'll see. We'll see, man. Like I we'll agree to disagree for now. If the Spurs win a championship with De'Aaron Fox as the second best player on the team, I'll eat it. I'll eat it.
I'll tell you right now, Charlie. When it comes to location, just like real estate, location, it matters. My man was able to put up a decent stat line playing with Sacramento. They actually won some damn games, so I don't think they were completely empty. I also don't think they were completely filled because, you know, it was only that one magical playoff run that they couldn't get past the Warriors with, and why would they? I mean, they were such an inexperienced squad. But now... we give this young man some time to develop, and you pair him with Wembanyama, you bring in that third star. I'll tell you right now, if I wasn't such a diehard Lakers fan, and if that move to San Antonio would have actually happened for me, I probably would have been switching teams right now.
Yeah, no, I just want to add, I wasn't trying to compare Fox to Middleton or whatever, but just in general, like second best players on championship teams.
Yeah.
Back to Charlie's point, like I just feel like the notion of like who's a number 2 and number 3 player in general is like we just don't know. Like we don't know how teams are going to be constructed in the future. And once you're in that tier of an all-star player, I feel like you can elevate. Like there's room to grow. So like there is a factor. Like Charlie might be right now, but years down the line, Fox might assert himself as that clear number 2 on any team, you know? Like,
I don't know, dude. Night 1, I literally watched it last night. Night 1 with a 22-point performance, and he looked a lot better in the first half than the second half of that game. He even said so in his post-game interview at the end. So even he felt that. But I'm telling you, dude, just 22 points the first very night. I mean, dude, this has the potential, and here... don't jump down my throat because you're going to rip my head off because I'm going to offend you right now because that jersey right behind you. This is going to be Brunson-esque. This kid is going to unlock a new level of his game with this move.
I don't hate De'Aaron Fox, and I don't even hate that comparison because it's the same kind of thing. He was point guard, buried on a team, not as the number 1 option because, like you guys said, Sabonis was that number 1 guy in Sacramento, right? I don't hate that comparison. He could totally do the same exact thing, and also he's got that hometown degree to him. He's from Texas, so that's one of the reasons why he wanted to go to San Antonio on top of Wemby.
He's also
I don't
taken
know.
his wife's number too. She went to Texas Tech and played basketball there.
Really? That's cool. That's really cool.
That's cool.
No, I like Fox. Fun player to watch. It's just We will see. We will.
Yeah,
It's,
we'll see.
what's too early to
Guys,
tell.
Last thing on the NBA here, the Mavs really had Jalen Brunson, Kristaps Porzingis, Luka Doncic, and none of them are left. I don't think it's enough return for what they have left in it. I do think that they are in a decent position just because of Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, but oh man, I'll tell you,
They got
if
a
this
lot
doesn't
for
work
Brunson.
out,
They got a lot for Brunson.
I know,
He was
but
a free agent.
Oh, I thought he got traded.
Brunson was a free agent.
That's right. No,
So-
I'm stupid.
Yep. So I'm telling you, dude, they better hope that this Anthony Davis move pans out. Otherwise, there's gonna be some management changes going on in Dallas.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Now, fellas, of course, we have the big game to get to. We are running on short time. Snaps, real quick, I want to talk UFC while we have you here. We don't get to talk it too much. We do have a big fight this weekend with Duplessis rematching against Strickland. Dana White said Strickland won the first one. Duplessis actually looked to be more beat up in that one. From your expertise in watching the sport, who's winning the second time around and who won the first fight?
All right, so yeah, big card in Sydney, Australia on Saturday, UFC 312. To answer your question, I'm picking Sean Strickland to win the rematch. They fought last year, and I thought Sean Strickland won the fight. I thought he won 3 of the 5 rounds, albeit a lot of the rounds were very close, and it was probably about split between the fan base on who actually won the fight, Duplessis and Strickland. So Duplessis is now defending for the second time. But something going under the radar is in that first fight, Duplessis headbutted Strickland in, I believe, the 4th round. Strickland lost his vision, and it took him about an entire round to like see again, basically. And it just changed the course and how the fight was being going. So we'll see. It's going to be a completely different fight. It was a year ago, and they're both moving forward. They're both two of the most exciting fighters, especially fighters when they come together. A lot of people like to hate on Sean Strickland's style and his kicking and boxing, but I think it's one of the most unique styles in MMA history. Mazz, you'd probably appreciate a lot as a boxing guy. I mean, this man is Philly rolling, shoulder rolling in the octagon, rolling his shoulder, jabbing. Like, his defense is just so fun to watch, in my opinion.
Patented Philly shell, dude.
But it's going to be a
No,
we'll
for
see.
sure. I just think Duplessis is going to try to utilize the wrestling a little bit more. You saw against Izzy's last fight, and in that 4th round, Izzy was starting to piece him up in that 2nd and 3rd. And then once Duplessis started to like take him to the ground, and then he got the rear naked choke, choked him out. That's what he's going to try to do to Strickland. I think Strickland's got decent takedown defense. Like, he's got some good takedown defense, but you know, Duplessis, once he gets that shooting here's what I think is going to happen. I think Strickland wins rounds 1 and 2. He sets the tone early. Then I just think Duplessis in round 3 is going to start to tire out Strickland a little bit when he finally shoots a good takedown. And then I predict a round 3 submission. That's what I predict for Duplessis.
I like it.
I wish I knew enough UFC to make an educated guess like this. I'm just a casual enjoyer, observer. Just like just like watching two guys beat the crap out of each other.
I actually think that Duplessis is going to have a fire lit under him just because, like, the boss of the company literally thought you lost the fight the last time out. So I actually see him getting the finish in the later rounds, probably round 4 for me. I think it's going to be an absolute war, and Sean Strickland's going down swinging. I just want to see a good fight, to be honest with you guys. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to see this one. I will be working, and it's going to be pretty late, and I'm probably just gonna pass out when I get back, if I'm being honest.
What's his streak right now, Duplessis? 11 fight win streak?
Yeah, he's undefeated in the UFC, so whatever that record is, he's on a very long win streak. 2nd title defense. He's took out multiple former champions. And you guys are right. He has more ways to win in this matchup. He's got the grappling. He's got power in his hands, and he's relentless. He's got one of the most awkward styles. He literally runs at you throwing bombs like. But it's going to be, like, to Charlie, like you said, you want to watch people beat the crap out of each other. This main event's the one for you, bro. Last year when they fought, they were saying to the death before they fought. So
I remember watching last year's. That was a good fight.
Kind of Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald-esque, right? And for anybody that doesn't know, I promise you, go watch Rory McDonald versus Robbie Lawler. I believe it was number 2, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
I watched that live. That thing was amazing, dude. And I'm showing my age here a bit. Snaps. We only got you for a couple more minutes. Real quick, we just talked about former champions. Israel Adesanya just got knocked out. Do you see him getting back into the title picture ever again?
honestly, he's been my favorite fighter over the past 5 years, so it's a very hard subject for me. Title picture, I'd have to be real and say no, just due to the fact that with age, unfortunately, his chin seems to be gone and he's not able to withstand that damage anymore. I think 3 years ago, he fights this guy that he just lost to, Imavov, on Saturday. He's able to take that punch because he's taken multiple left hooks from Poatan and just kickboxers from around the world. Like, he's taken damage in his career. So I'd probably say no to title picture, but he showed that he's still very good. He won the first round and looks sharp. It's just, I don't know if he can take that damage at the top.
He had some controversial comments after that fight, saying that it's more important for him to get his first professional submission than it is winning another championship. What do you think about that comment?
I think it's interesting. I mean, some people would definitely hate on it, but when you have the second most title defenses in middleweight history and you've cemented your name as a literally arguably the greatest fighter at that division of all time, you can kind of do what you want and get some clips. I guess that's what they're calling it nowadays. You can go for what you want.
You think Izzy goes up to light heavyweight?
It's possible. He did it one time while he was
Yeah,
champion.
young.
He tried to go for the
That
second
was
belt.
bad, dude.
He went for the second belt and he ended up getting wrestled for most of the fight, but it was a good fight.
I need
Got
Izzy
dominated.
versus Alex 3. Just finish the trilogy, please. That's all I want.
Oh,
It'd be great, but unfortunately for the fans, they've seemed to kind of put their beef in the past, and they might be training soon. They're kind of acting cordial nowadays.
Snaps, I'm glad that you mentioned him being one of the best in the division. You keep just giving me these great segues. I got two top four lists for you. We're gonna start with greatest of all time. Give us your Mount Rushmore in the UFC. Your critical list, not Snaps' personal. We're not talking about favorite fighters. I want to know who is on your Mount Rushmore of greatness.
It's so hard, bro. All right, John Jones and Khabib are obviously on it. Them two are on it. They're like the only undefeated ever MMA champions who've never been touched. I mean, he got the one technical loss, but yeah. So them two are on it. I'll say GSP, and then I'm gonna say Conor McGregor. No, not a lot of people probably won't like that, but I feel like I want to have either Conor McGregor or Ronda Rousey on my Mount Rushmore, just because I think what they did for the sport and the sport of MMA, I just think they took it to another level. Kind of like a Steph Curry comparison, like not like took basketball to another level, but they just brought like Conor and Rousey brought so many eyes to it. Like Rousey started women's MMA basically, so like her run was just crazy, and I watched both of those runs. But yeah, a lot of people probably wouldn't have them on it like GOAT tier because they're not like their resumes are great, like they're legends, but they're not as good as like the Jones and Silvas and Khabibs, but they were champs and changed the sport. So I would put one of them on there.
I like that. But would I be crazy to say Islam over Khabib?
Uh, I mean, yeah, I feel like you kind of have to have both. I guess I don't know. It's
You
hard.
have Islam on your Mount Rushmore
Bro, Islam is
over a Spider Silva.
Islam, bro. Like you don't understand, man. Islam
No,
is the
I
fact that
understand.
he's in lightweight, which is one of the most stacked divisions ever, and he is just and everyone even says like no one's touching Islam right now in lightweight. No one's touching him because he's just that much better than
All right.
everybody else.
And for the sake of time here, Snaps, also give me a Mount Rushmore of up and coming fighters, must see. Definitely not on people's radars. Like, who should we be looking out for? I know you spent a lot of time over the past couple of months with this organization. Just exciting four fighters that we should be having on our radar.
All right, so I'll give you a gym. There's this gym in Sao Paulo, Brazil. A lot of the MMA fans know about them. They're going by the Fighting Nerds, and there's this guy in the welterweight division. There's multiple that are very good, but they go by this Fighting Nerds, and they got this gimmick where they put the glasses on after, and they act like super nerdy, but they're super smart. But the guy's name is Carlos Prates. He's ranked 13th in the welterweight division. I genuinely think he could potentially be on a title run. His next like 3 or 4 fights, like he's gonna fight guys ahead of him, and if he gets on a streak, he's got room to be up there. Um, I like Joshua Van at flyweight. He's a young contender who's he's got one loss in the UFC, but he's got a very fun fight style, super boxing heavy. Trying to think of some more under the radar.
Buckley. I know you talked to him, right?
Buckley.
You talked to Buckley?
Buckley's good. Buckley's a good one. It's hard to consider him under the radar, but he's a new contender who hasn't fought for the title, so I like that. He's a new guy who's going to be coming up the ranks. Speaking of Buckley, I'll just stick to the welterweight division because Buckley and Prates are both in it. I think the division of 170 has become the most intriguing crop of new contenders in the entire sport. Like, you've got people that haven't fought for the title yet more than any other division. You've got Shavkat, Ian Gary, who just fought, Prates, Buckley. There's just so many big names, and it's exciting times. And that JDM, who's fighting Leon next month, like it's a great division. So I would say that division is probably the most exciting.
Snaps, one last question for you. Give us an insight into your time out in Nevada with the organization. I know you got to have some time with the big man himself, Dana White, who I'm personally a big fan of. What was that entire experience like for you, not only as a journalist, but as a fan of the sport?
Yeah, bro, it was honestly crazy. I wanted to work for the UFC or write for the UFC like for the last few years, and I got to do it already. So it was just such a really cool thing to do as a fan and someone who appreciates the sport. But yeah, I was in the building, the UFC headquarters, 40 hours a week, writing stories. I was able to interview athletes before the fights, sometimes after the fights. I was helping with the website. Basically anything that was going on to the news section on the website, I potentially had a hand in or kind of knew how to format or put up on the website. So yeah, it was awesome. Las Vegas is somewhere I'd love to live for sure. The weather's amazing. The food is top tier. Like it was a movie, bro. I was living.
Hit me with a gem, dude. Where's some good eats?
Honestly, I didn't really know this going to Vegas, but a lot of Hawaiian spots. Hawaiian and Asian food is very good. They call it the 12th island, I believe, because a lot of Hawaiians live in Vegas. So I would recommend the Hawaiian food.
Okay.
Can I say something real quick?
Dude, yeah.
Ryan White, right here, this guy, got me into UFC. Last year, senior year of college, he invites me over to the apartment to watch 300, where we got to see some of the most banger fights I've ever seen. It's the first card I really sat and watched the entire card from start to finish. And what a card to start with, right? You got the Pereira Hill knockout. You had the Zhang versus Yan Xiaonan fight in the Cobain, and then of course one of the greatest finishes I've ever seen with Holloway and Gaethje, the last second knockout. That was the first event I ever watched start to finish. Ryan invited me over to the apartment, so I thank this man right here for getting me into UFC right here.
Hey, no doubt. Let's go. Hey, I like to see that you're bringing the knowledge too, Cafone. You became a real fan, bro.
I'll tell you right now, he's still that next generation of fan. My man got to do just a little more history on the sport. I want you to go back and watch some of those Pride fights. I need you to just go watch Vanderlei Silva and come back to me, dude. They don't make them like they used to. I feel like guys are more technical than ever before, but in terms of monsters, they don't make monsters and murderers like they used to, man.
Because there's no steroids.
Whatever, dude. Didn't you hear Nate Diaz? Everybody's on steroids, so we'll see what happens. But Snaps, I want to thank you very much for coming on, buddy. We are absolutely going to have you back on in the future. Particularly, I need you to save the date for me, unless of course you're working for the UFC and it's not going to be available, but the week either before or after that John Jones Aspinall fight actually happens, I want you here. I want a breakdown. That is the biggest fight in the sport right now, and we need you here for that.
That's a lock. So hopefully we get that fight, brother. I hope it happens.
Well, John came out yesterday and said he had a big announcement, so we'll see.
If he retires, I swear to God, if he retires, he's still the GOAT. It is what it is.
He's a duck if that happens.
Dude, he's the GOAT. It just is what it is. I don't even want to hear it anymore. GSP up there, Anderson Silva. He didn't duck any. How can you duck Ngannou when Ngannou left the company? What are you talking about?
'Cause
Get
you-
out of
you were
here!
waiting for
This
John.
is the problem. This is the problem with the new age fan of UFC. This has been the Mazz and Bad show. Thanks for tuning in. Socials,
Wait.
YouTube.
Super Bowl
What?
picks. Super Bowl picks.
I'm so sorry. Charlie is right. I'm so sorry. Give me
We,
Philly.
you
Go
don't gotta.
Birds.
Yeah, you don't have to
Give me
break it
Philly.
down crazy. Just pick
Just
your
give me
pick.
Philly. Go
Give you
Birds.
Philly.
Saquon.
Okay.
Saquon's gonna run. I think for a lot. I think Jalen Hurts is gonna do enough not to mess this up. If the Chiefs win, I'm not surprised, but I have to believe in Philly, because this just can't keep happening.
Give me the refs. It's gonna be a great game for the refs. I think they're gonna
Oh,
have
shut
they're gonna have
up.
a fantastic
up.
showing in one of the biggest platforms on the season. I think they're gonna have a fantastic game. Give me the refs to win the game, 24-17 in favor of the red team, the refs.
Snaps.
Yeah. I think the Eagles should be favored. I think they're a bit better of a roster, but come on, let's be real. We ain't going against Patrick Mahomes over here, at least in my house. So that's who I got.
Charlie.
It's hard. It's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes because, I think Philly does have the better roster here in terms of totality. I think Chiefs have the better coaching staff, but yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes, man, in the Super Bowl. I'll go
I
with the
hear you.
Chiefs.
Oh man, I hope it's Philly. I hope the three of you are wrong. I gotta be honest. I absolutely hated how Roger Goodell and the head of officiating handled those statements. I know, it's okay to say we need to be better. You could have just said that, right? Instead of just being like, the fact that everybody thinks that it's rigged and that's absolutely ridiculous. That's fine. Nobody's expecting you to be like, yeah, of course it's rigged. Like, that would be ridiculous even if it was rigged, which I don't think it is rigged, unlike somebody here. But you should have just hit us with, we will be having reprimands for referee performance. You could have hit us with that they might have gotten a call wrong or two. They could have hit us with something that the people would have been happy with instead of just calling the majority of the population stupid. We all know that went good the last time somebody attempted that one. But I'm not getting into that. We're keeping it moving here. If you know, you know. I know. I hit a jab. It is what it is. Listen, everybody, thank you very much. This has been another episode of the Mazz and Bad Show. Snaps, thank you very much, brother, for taking the time. And like I said, the next biggest fight, Jones, Aspinall, hopefully it happens. You are here. We need you for the breakdown. Thank you.
Follow us on Instagram, TikTok at MazzBads.
I'm here for it. Thank you guys. This is an epic show. Keep killing it. You guys are awesome.
Also, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. For your friends that don't have Spotify, tell them about the Apple Podcast. We're on all damn platforms.
And YouTube.
We're here. It's growing. I don't know how this is happening, but we're loving it. Please, any way you can, support the show. We thank you.